Yo, what is going on YouTube? This is your boy Dan, aka aDrive, but guys, episode 2 of a guide to the counter team draft league format, Underused Mega Evolutions. Now, last time we covered the Mega Evolutions that stand out the most in this format, and on this episode, I'm going to be telling you guys the steals that you guys can get in the draft, of course, to make your team that much better, maybe add some extra points to your draft free total, and all that stuff. So remember, as I mentioned in the last episode, I am covering the GBA standard tiers, so that is something you need to factor in here, and this countdown is obviously very subjective. These are my opinions based on my experience, so please feel free to give your thoughts in the comment section below if you agree or disagree or anything in between. And of course, if you are enjoying the series, be sure to show your love on that like button down below, as your support is greatly appreciated. Now, before we get too far into things here, we do have a question of the day, and I need your guys' help in determining what I'm going to cover next week. There's so many topics for us to cover in this series, including fast electric types and bulky waters and hazard removers and all sorts of stuff. So I need you guys to let me know what you want to see the most next week on this video and this series. Anyway, I think it's time for us to jump into our first Mega Evolution, so let's get right into it. Now, coming in as our number 5 right now, we actually have Mega Audino. Now, this Pokemon is often undrafted in many formats, and for good reason. It's actually the lowest ranked Mega in the standard Smogon tier list. However, in the draft league format, I personally think it has a lot of viability. Now, you have to keep in mind that, again, this Pokemon will add a lot of points onto your free point total if you're using the GBA standard draft format, and that alone makes this thing a lot more viable because that can free up options for you to grab other tier 1s and other Pokemon that can kind of make your team a lot better overall. So that's one thing to note here about Mega Audino. But speaking of the Pokemon itself, this thing is an absolute monster. Now, one thing it does is it checks off your fairy type on your draft league list. There's not many fairy types, as we already know. There's not many good ones, and this is one that might sit there for a while. And all the Pokemon in this countdown are Pokemon you're going to want to draft mid to late draft because they're probably going to hang around for a while, and you're going to get the best bang for your buck. It's all about value in this video. So we've got our Mega Audino here, and you can see its stats are just insane. Incredible HP, really good bulk on both the physical and special defensive side, and it's got a great typing. Fairy type is amazing, first of all, and normal type makes it immune to ghost types, only giving that weakness to fighting, which is neutralized by fairy, so your only real weaknesses are going to be steel and poison type, so you have a lot of advantages there. So of course, having a good team check on your team that can handle poison types and steel types is always very nice, and hazard support is great. You're going to want to get those hazards up because Audino is going to force a decent amount of switches, especially if you get this thing against Pokemon that even can't touch it. You can get them to switch around, force some switches and stuff like that. Now, the nice thing about Audino is it heals itself with Wish and Protect. It's got the ability to run Heal Bell to give your team some support and pass those big wishes off with that 103 HP stat, and it's got some decent offensive options as well. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, Audino definitely needs to run Calm Mind to hit anything super hard, but because Fairy type is so good offensively, you can almost always run Mono Fairy, just Dazzling Gleam, and you can make things work with just that. Obviously, you've got Fire Blast on there. There's moves like Surf that this thing learns. It learns Knock Off, a couple different moves that aren't listed on there. Hyper Voice is, of course, its other stab for its normal type, and I really like running the Calm Mindset with Dazzling Gleam, Wish, and Protect. It stands pretty well. The one thing that Audino does fear is Toxic and things like that, so having a good status absorber to take those hits is super crucial to keep Audino in the game, but this thing has an opportunity to set up and sweep in a lot of situations just because of how bulky it actually is. I wouldn't recommend drafting this early in the draft. This is definitely like a last round pick overall, but it's probably going to sit there for the duration, so you're pretty secure about it, and it makes it a very valuable underused Mega in the draft league format. Now, just because Ampharos is here on the Underused Mega Evolutions does not mean it's not good. All the Megas on this countdown are very good, and Ampharos is certainly no exception to that. Rocking a base 165 special attack stat, an incredible amount of power, and you can see from its stats, it's got great stats across the board aside from its speed. Now, luckily for Mega Ampharos, it can negate that issue with the move Agility, something a lot of big sweepers don't have the opportunity to do. So it's got this great natural bulk with an insane typing. Dragon Electric has proven itself to be an amazing typing, having a lot of resistances, resisting fire, water, and grass because of the dragon typing, being able to take a lot of hits having that electric typing, and hitting things neutral with thunderbolts and dragon pulses, things like that. So great offensive coverage there for Ampharos, and again, that special attack stat is insane. Now, you may see Mega Ampharos most commonly used with Rest and Sleep Talk, allowing it to have a lot of longevity in the entire match, running Rest, Sleep Talk, typically Volt Switch and Dragon Pulse with a lot of bulk, a bulky variant. But one of the nice things is you can run this offensively with Agility and Focus Blast, Blast as well, Dragon Pulse and Thunderbolt, and that's going to hit incredibly hard. One of the nice things to pair Mega Ampharos with is a good U-turner, so you could form yourself a very nice Volt turn combo, running Volt Switch and U-turn hand in hand to give yourself momentum throughout the match, and momentum is everything in the Draft League format. Now, many times Ampharos won't even be drafted, so this is definitely a mid to late round draft pick. I wouldn't wait too long because there's always the chance that someone's going to snag it from you, but it's such a great value pick, and I've seen it over time. It never seems to jump out on a piece of paper to you, but for whatever reason in the match, this thing always holds a team together because of its typing and its great defensive presence, and it does hit so hard even unboosted. Even when you don't invest in its special attack, it's going to hit incredibly hard. So I'm a big fan of Ampharos, and I hope to get to try to use it one day because this thing has proven itself time and time again to be a reliable threat and actually gives you extra points onto your draft point total, as I mentioned, just like Mega Audino. So very, very good for building out a team overall. Now, our next Mega Evolution here is one of my personal favorites and one of the best ones that I think on this countdown. Mega Pidgeot is absolutely insane and is often overlooked because its move pool is pretty limited. It doesn't have a lot of different offensive options, and it's relatively predictable. But it doesn't matter how predictable this thing is because it has Hurricane that hits 100% of the time with a 30% chance to confuse. Think of how much people complain about Scald and how often that burns. Hurricane has the same chance to confuse just as Scald has to burn, and that makes Pidgeot an absolute monster. Its special attack stat is really good at 135, and pairing it with a really high base power move like Hurricane makes that even better. You've got a 121 base speed stat, which is going to outspeed pretty much everything on your opponent's team in most situations. There's only a handful of Pokemon that are going to outspeed Mega Pidgeot, and that makes this thing insane. Like I said, it's got great bulk across the board, allowing you to run bulky sets as well. However, the best set, in my opinion, is just to run that U-turn on there for momentum, just like we have the Volt Switch on Ampharos. You've got Hurricane on there. Most of the time, you're just going to click Hurricane. And for some reason, anyone in the Draft League format will tell you this, for some reason, Fire Spam and Bird Spam and even Normal Spam, those three types, for whatever reason, just happen to break through most teams. Like, very few teams have reliable responses to Brave Bird Spam, or in this case, Hurricane Spam, and Mega Pidgeot is one of the best at it in the game. There's absolutely no doubt about it. Again, you've got some other options there too. This thing could be a defogger, so you could use this bulky as your hazard removal. A little bit weird, but it's doable. But one of the things that Mega Pidgeot definitely needs is some team support in terms of hazard removal, and it needs something that can get rid of its main checks, which are Steel and Rock type Pokemon, because simply put, Hurricane and Heat Wave just aren't going to cut it. But if you can keep those hazards off the field, keep the Stealth Rocks off the field, Mega Pidgeot's going to have a field day with your opponent, firing off those Hurricanes, getting those confusions, and making some pretty amazing things happen. This Pokemon is very, very effective, has a lot of offensive pressure, and again, that speed stat is really what separates it. This Pokemon is likely to go undrafted, or it might go, late game or late round in the draft, but you could totally snag it and get something really, really valuable. Don't let Mega Pidgeot's lack of usage or lack of move pool dissuade you from trying this Pokemon out, because I assure you this thing is going to come through. Right now in the GBA, Old Man Tup has been using it marvelously over the last couple weeks, and you've seen him bounce to a pretty good start this season with Mega Pidgeot as a staple offensive threat, and this thing is an absolute beast. I love, love, love Pidgeot. You can even run Hyper Beam for coolness factor, and you get stab on it, and you're hitting it incredibly hard. You're not going to miss because of no guard. This thing is just a beast, so I recommend trying it out. Can fit on a lot of different teams. That's one of the beautiful parts about it. You don't really have to worry about too much synergy as long as you're able to get, a good hazard removal, which is a staple on any team, and a good counter to Steel and Rock types. Mostly Rock, because you do have Heat Wave, but you're going to want to be able to eliminate those, so that way your Hurricane's going to hit harder. Obviously, something that can hit electric types, like a good ground type, would be good. So maybe something like a Donphan is a really good kind of pair for Mega Pidgeot. I think if you took a Donphan and Mega Pidgeot, oh my goodness, that would be insane. So definitely give it a go, because this thing is a beast. Now, I know when you guys saw the thumbnail for this video, you knew Aggron was going to be on this countdown. Perhaps my favorite underused Mega Evolution I've ever used at this point in time. Mega Aggron. Good game, because Aggron's here. He's about to destroy your soul. Aggron is an absolute monster, rocking an insane physical defense stat, rivaling Shuckle, basically, with a good HP stat and an ability Filter. And Filter is just so good, guys. Filter reduces the special effective damage, so you're going to be able to take special effective hits better. You've got a decent special defense stat. Pair that with max HP, invest all your EVs into special defense, run an Impish Nature, and this thing is taking hits all day. I brought it to the championship last season in the GBA and was able to win the championship, and Mega Aggron was a huge, huge part of that. I love its moveset too. Stealth Rocks gives you a reliable Stealth Rock setter. Heavy Slam and Iron Head, so you got good Steel Stab. You got Earthquake, Thunder Wave, away for speed control, rest if you want some longevity, best paired with a cleric, someone with heal bell, something like that. So it really can benefit from wish support and a good special wall like a Chansey or something like that. Maybe something a little less passive like a Gudra, but a good special wall and a bulky water type. Those Pokemon can pair really well with Aggron, maybe like a Milotic. It's got Avalanche on there to hit dragon types. This thing is a monster. Like I said, I cannot stress enough how bulky and hard to take down Aggron was, and you can get really creative because it's got a great move pool. You saw actually last season I brought in the playoffs, taunt Aggron with a lot of speed investment to outspeed a Weezing, taunt it so it couldn't Will-O-Wisp me, and essentially shut down Yo-Fizz and the Atlanta Hawluchas with Aggron almost single-handedly. This thing is an absolute beast, guys, and I definitely recommend, because I think there was a little bit more visibility for Aggron, I think it's more likely to get drafted. I wouldn't wait too late in the draft, but this is one of those Pokemon you can grab a couple rounds in, maybe 5 or 6 rounds in, and it can really bring the team together. You grab your Fairy, you grab your Dragon type, and then you throw Aggron in the mix, and you have an insane Fairy Dragon Steel Core, as I did with Salamence and Sylveon. This thing is a beast, guys. I cannot emphasize enough how good Mega Aggron is. Its ability to take hits is unmatched in the current metagame, and its ability to dish out damage. Do not forget, it's got 140 base attack stat, and it does have opportunities to set up rock polishes and go offensive as well if you wanted to run an offensive Aggron one week with like Fire Punch. It gets a lot of coverage moves, and it's just such a beast in general. I highly recommend trying this Pokemon out. It really fits on a lot of different teams, especially if you're able to support it with the Wish support and Cleric so it doesn't get burned, things like that. A good special wall and you're going to be good to go. Aggron is a beast. Now, perhaps the best Mega Evolution on this countdown, and one of the Pokemon that often gets forgotten in the Draft League format, and I haven't quite figured out why. I've heard whispers and discussed with the GBA coaches, and we all believe that Mega Medicham is an absolute monster, yet it still continues to go undrafted. So I think it's just, people are a little hesitant to go for a Mega that's just a little bit unproven, but I personally think that Mega Medicham has all the tools it needs to be a huge offensive threat. Not only does it have Pure Power, which its pre-Mega Evolution has as well, doubling its attack stat, not its base attack stat, doubling its attack stat, which is astronomical. You're taking 100 base attack, you're doubling that, and you're getting an just incredible offensive threat here with priority and fake out, priority and bullet punch, having the ability to have a decent speed stat too, 100 base speed, gaining 20 points from its previous Mega, getting Medicham up from 80 to 100, makes this thing really awesome. Having slow Volt Switchers and U-Turners really helps, getting you that momentum, getting Medicham in for free on having your slow Volt Switcher or U-Turner take a hit, get Medicham in for free, and it's probably going to pick up a kill. This thing is an absolute monster. Psychic types are its really only issue is facing Psychic types, so a good Pursuit Trapper like a Bisharp or something like that, maybe a Weavile, could be a great offensive threat to go alongside Medicham. But again, high jump kick, high base power stab moves, Zen Headbutt, Psycho Cut, those moves are just going to hit incredibly hard. The Elemental Punches has the ability to Baton Pass, which is really nice as well if you want to gain momentum. If you know your opponent's going to predict something, you can just Baton Pass out. And again, I can't emphasize enough, you've got Drain Punch, you got Bullet Punch and Fake Out for priority. This thing just hits incredibly hard. If you can pair it with Sticky Webs, your opponent is in for a huge headache, and I think Mega Medicham is one of the best underused, undrafted Mega Evolutions in this format right now. If you get a chance to grab it, try it out. You will not be disappointed. If you build the right team around it, this thing can totally lead the league in kills. There's no doubt about that in my mind. So, with all that said, guys, I hope you did enjoy this episode, guys, of our top 5 underused Mega Evolutions in the Draft League counter team format. Don't forget to let me know in the comment section below what you want to see next time on this series in terms of the Draft League format, and be sure to subscribe if you're new, like the video if you enjoyed, and that's going to be it for me, guys. My name is Dan, I'll go by aDrive, and I'm going to catch you guys later. Peace.